I also did just watch my favorite ice dance team, Slay, at their competition today. I cried, so basically if I have crying eyes, we're just not going to talk about it. So today I'm just going to do a kind of recent reading update because I'm in school, so I'm really not reading much. I don't have much of the way of like currently read, TBR even, because I just don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself. So I'll talk about probably a few things I recently read, the books that I'm currently in the process of reading, and although I am supposedly on a low buy in terms of books, I've been trying not to go to bookstores because I do end up walking out with the book every single time I go. I went to 2 separate bookstores yesterday and I did walk out with books from both of them, so I'll talk a little bit about the books that I got there. This video I am sitting on the floor because while I was standing up I felt like I was just putting on the front way too much. I felt like I had to act very like, I don't know, very proper or whatever. I am not at all proper, so I'm sitting on the floor. I'm also a bit sick, so I apologize about my sick voice. I want to get this out of the way first so you can all shame me immediately. I had a haul. I bought 4 books yesterday, which is absurd, and I don't need to have bought 4 books. I made a spontaneous trip to New York City in October and also bought many books while I was there, which I did not need to, but I have a job now, so I guess I can afford it. Should be saving money, but books. So the first book that I bought, I got at a used bookstore after I went to renew my car registration. There's a used bookstore right next to the little MVA kiosk. So I got Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, which I was completely surprised to find at a used bookstore. And this was not a book that I had originally planned on purchasing just because I take issue with the way that Rainbow Rowell has responded to the criticisms, the very valid criticisms towards Eleanor and Park, so I did not want to buy this book. I did plan on reading it. Full disclosure, I was just going to get it from the library. However, I walked into the used bookstore and it was there and it was only $8, and I know for a fact that none of the money from this book went to Rainbow Rowell, so I'm okay getting it. Is that mean to say? That's kind of the truth. I read Carry On. I was really happy about the LGBT rep. You know, it's like, it's basically dreary fan fiction, is it not? Like, let's be real. I know it's different, but it also, like, you cannot tell me that that's not what it was originally meant to be in Fangirl. Nonetheless, I really enjoyed Carry On. I'm going to have to reread Carry On before I move into this, and I really like the art style on the new covers. I love the original Carry On cover as well, but Kevin Wada did the art for this cover. Really like that art style. Happy to have this. Happy to have gotten it at a used bookstore. So next on my journey, Friday, I had some time before I had to go to work. Not enough time where it made sense to go home, so I decided to go to another bookstore, a Barnes & Noble, which is close to where I work, and ended up buying 3 books, which is completely unnecessary. There is an entire shelf of unread books, and yet here I am having bought 4 more unread books yesterday. 3 of them were books that I was excited for their release, so I will consider that worth it. So the first book that I picked up at Barnes & Noble, which I have had my eye on for a while, is Crier's War by Nina Varela. So Crier's War I am very excited about because it is a sort of steampunk fantasy which centers on a sapphic romance, so that's so very exciting. And I did just look in this and see that the dedication is for the queer readers. You deserve every adventure, and I almost cried because that's just so true, and I appreciate that queer writers are finally getting the opportunity to tell these stories. And sort of the stinger on the book jacket is the debut novel is Crier's War is a sweepingly romantic tale of love, loss, and revenge that grapples with what it means to be human. So I'm very excited to read this. Second book that I picked up is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. I saw this and I hadn't realized that this book was released, so I kind of just like impulse bought it without really thinking about it. So I read the Raven Boys Quartet a few years back and I absolutely loved it, mostly for the LGBT rep between Ronan and Adam. That was what I was most invested in. Of course, being a member of the LGBT community myself, it's very important to me to see these stories told in fiction, especially in kind of cool urban fantasy type settings. That was like nice to see. That was like also why I read The Mortal Instruments as a kid. That was the most exciting. Like Alec and Magnus was the only thing I cared about. God, I'm dying. I don't actually know much about Call Down the Hawk or what the next rumored trilogy will follow, but I'm pretty excited to return to the world of the Raven Boys. I wasn't super happy with how the Raven King wrapped up, but I'm still excited to see what Maggie Stiefvater can bring to the table with Call Down the Hawk and the rest of the Dreamer trilogy, because I really did love Ronan and I related to him a lot. Especially in terms of the Catholic guilt aspect. I'm not going to include that in the video. So the third book I watched on Barnes & Noble is really a testament to just truly how very, very much of Chandler Ainsley's YouTube channel I have been powering through. I have been watching her videos basically non-stop because that's just how I do with YouTube channels apparently. I scroll to the bottom and I work my way up, and it makes me very happy to do this. I picked this up based on a recommendation from Chandler Ainsley, which she gave in her paranormal romance recommendations based on YA books video. So I picked up Dark Lover by J.R. Ward, which I hear is also just a classic of the paranormal romance genre. So I decided to pick it up because I've been trying to read more romance. Actually, it's just a genre that I've never dived into before because the covers are just so intimidating. Like, look at this man. Look at this man's and tell me you are not intimidated. There's just a lot going on here. Simultaneously not a lot, and just a very, very large amount of things going on here. So I picked this up because Chandler recommended it. I don't remember exactly what she said in the video that made it stick out to me, but I decided, yeah, this is the one that I want to go with. Ooh, a character named Wrath. Oh, I'm Wrath and Beth. What a nice, gentle name, Beth. Beth is racked by a restlessness in her body that wasn't there before. Ooh. Racked by a restlessness in her body that wasn't there before, Beth Randall is helpless against the dangerously sexy man who comes to her at night with shadows in his eyes. Is that Wrath? That has to be Wrath. So I'm sure Chandler could describe this much better than I ever could, so I am going to have that video linked in my description, so I would recommend you just go check that out. If you haven't watched any of Chandler's YouTube videos, I also recommend that because I love them. They're a big inspiration for me. Part of the reason why I decided to start my channel is because in like an older video at this point, which was answering questions about Booktube, Chandler said, you should start Booktube now. And I was like, bet, it's 7 months later, but bet, I'm gonna do that. So yeah, vampires, sexy romance, and a guy named Wrath. What more could you want? Not much. I will hopefully be reading this soon. It'll be a nice escape from final season. So that concludes the haul portion of my video. I'm just gonna go backward in time and move forward. So I'm gonna start with books that I've recently read. The most recent book that I finished is La Peau de Chagrin, which I read for a French class, which in English translates to possibly the best title for a book that I've ever heard of, which is The Wild Ass's Skin. It was written by Honoré de Balzac in 1831. I liked it. The thing is, Balzac just writes so very much. He uses so many words to say so little things, and I just wish someone would have told him to be more concise, but apparently he started writing this for a newspaper, and I think he wrote other things for newspapers too where he was paid by the word, so he was like, gotta get my words in. So the most recent book that I read for fun that I finished was The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman, which I read in early September. I started in early September and it took me at least half of the month just because I have so much schoolwork to do, and it's so easy for me to tell myself that I don't have time to read and then spend hours just messing around on my phone or something. So I read The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. It was a 3-star read for me. 3 is probably a little high, maybe closer to 2.75 because I have a lot of complicated feelings on it because it did a really good job of creating a spooky atmosphere. I thought it was relatively creative. I liked the setting, but there were just some things that were very weird. There was LGBT rep, which I appreciated. So there were characters who were bisexual, there were characters who had previously been in sapphic relationships, but the thing is, none of these like queer relationships actually came to pass in the book, and no one really talked about their queerness besides like, I'm bi and moving on, or like, I have feelings for you and now we're gonna fight, or like, we used to date but we don't anymore and we kind of hate each other. It was representation, but I wish there had been more, and hopefully there will be more in the following books. We'll just have to wait and see. Another issue that I had with it was that there was diversity in this book, but none of the main characters. There was this weird emphasis on how white they were. Like, not really, but just in the fact that, like, she described the characters and made a point to say, like, a white boy or like 2 white boys walked into the diner or something like that. So it's like not even leaving room for interpretation. Like, all of my main characters are white and you will know this. And there were other characters at the school who we knew were from different backgrounds, but only because of their names, and they didn't even speak that much, so it just felt very disingenuous, and I wanted more, rather than 4 main characters who are definitely white, and then a bunch of background characters who are obviously not meant to be white, but they also don't get to speak at all. It was just like very weird. So for those reasons, like the issues that I had with the LGBT rep and also the like weird attempts at diversity, kind of drew it down to a 2.75 star read for me. And those are the 2 books that I read the most recently, so now I'm going to move into what I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading The Outsider, which I got interested in because I think I saw Stephen King on some kind of talk show around the time when he was promoting this. It's pretty interesting. It's sort of a murder mystery, police investigation type thing. It follows a lot of different perspectives, but I guess it's all third person limited. I might be wrong about like what level of third person it is, but it is third person and it follows different people. And this book is basically about a popular man in a small town, Little League baseball coach, everyone knows him, everyone recognizes him, is accused and very publicly arrested for the brutal murder of a local boy. So the whole town turns against him. The only issue is that he has an airtight alibi, but the police have an equally airtight and damning slew of DNA, fingerprints, blood analysis evidence, so the novel follows trying to figure out exactly what happened here and how one man could be in 2 places at the same time. I'm enjoying it. I have slowed down reading it. I was having issues getting into it initially, and now I'm kind of in like, I guess part 2 of the story, and I've lost interest again, but I'm also just getting very busy for school, so I can't exactly blame it on the book. I have moved on to something else though that I have been reaching for when I do read. So the 3rd and final book that I'm currently reading, which was actually another recommendation from Chandler's YouTube channel, is From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. I don't think this is going to be a good shot. Oh, there we go. This is another new adult romance novel, which is about figure skating, and I myself am a figure skater. I participated in ice shows for about a year and a half when I was around 9 years old, and then I just dropped it when my family moved to a different state. And coming up on 3 years exactly, actually, I picked it up again and I've been loving it. It's a great hobby. It is the only form of exercise that I enjoy, so that's great. And I know, like, there's just not a lot of figure skating in media, and especially not figure skating that's done well, and this book does a fairly good job of it. So let's start with the real draw, which is the romance, which is what most people are going to read it for. So the romance is very cute, you know, classic 2 stubborn assholes are the main character, and you can tell that they have feelings for each other, but they both are unwilling to admit it, both to themselves and to each other. The antics are very fun. They have a very pure friendship at the moment. It's sort of an enemies to lovers type thing. I don't know how to describe it. I would say it's enemies to lovers, but it's not like super strong enemies, but they do have like tension at the beginning. So this follows 2 different pair of skaters who have never skated together, but they skate at the same rink, but they don't compete together. They come together at the beginning of a new season as a new partnership, so they have to work through their previous tensions. So Ivan and Jasmine get together, and currently they are preparing for the new competition season. Ivan is just an absolutely dominant male pair skater. Everyone that he partners with, he wins world championships, national championships, major pre-medals, and Jasmine has been trying so hard for her entire life. She's dedicated to figure skating and she just has not had the success that she wants to. So I really like the relationship between these 2. The issues that I have are things that I would probably only notice because I am a figure skater. One of the things that seems weird to me, I don't know how I would feel about it if I were going into this with very limited figure skating knowledge, is that they do sometimes give like very technical definitions of the jumps, like a triple salchow, which takes off from the inside edge of one skate and lands on the outside edge of the opposite skate. Like, did I need to know that? I didn't need to know that, and I think anyone who didn't know about figure skating, you could just tell them that like you jump up and spin 3 times in the air, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's impressive. There are just things that are just slightly off, and every time it happens, I'm like, you were so close. You were so close. I have to walk away, and it just throws me out of the story because I'm like, why? Why would you say this? The implication at one point they were like, yeah, I was a pretty good single skater too. At one point I could do quads in practice. Like, first of all, no you couldn't. Yeah, I casually just did quads just for fun at practice. Like, no, that's not how this works. Like, you have to put effort into adding that extra rotation to your jumps. You don't just add it willy-nilly. They did mention that she had a pretty good triple axel at one point, which is more feasible, so I don't know why they felt the need to say like quads. Also, probably the most fictional part of this story is the fact that there was a US pair dominant for at least 5 years on the international circuit. So other than those little annoyances that I have with it, it is a really good book. I think it's going to end up being a pretty high star rating for me. The romance is adorable. I think I will get more attached to the characters the longer I read this book and the further I get into it. I think I'm about 65% of the way through this book. I'm excited for them to start competing and see how things turn out. I'm excited for the romance aspect to really amp up, although I am enjoying the cute little friendship they have going on right now. Yeah, so that's probably my favorite book that I'm currently reading, just because it's the one that I've been turning to the most. Finally, I guess I just wanted to give a little chat about a TBR, things I want to read in the future. My TBR is basically just the 3 other library books that I still have checked out, and those are The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay and No Exit by Taylor Adams, both of which I'm pretty sure I pulled from Books and Lala's videos. I think it was Can We Trust Booktuber Recommendations, where she was reading recommendations based on if you liked this, read this, and I'm pretty sure No Exit was recommended based on if you liked The Cabin at the End of the World, or vice versa, so I ended up picking both of them up because they did sound like something I would enjoy. And the final book that I have checked out from the library is I Love You So Mochi, which I basically just picked up because it has a very beautiful cover with cherry blossoms and kind of a cute artsy picture of people with their arms around each other's backs. And the description sounds pretty cute too. So I'm just excited to read something light and fun. Hopefully I will get to that. I don't know if I'll get to that before or after Dark Lover. I guess probably before Dark Lover, and that will be my next fun book to read to take the place of From Luke Off With Love when I finish that. So yeah, I don't really like to plan TBRs too far in the future because I just have such a vast number of unread books that I could just kind of pick one at random, whatever I'm feeling in the moment. Currently I do have more of an exact TBR just because they are all library books, which I will have to return in the near future, so trying to get through those before I start racking up overdue fees and negating the point of going to a library in the first place. So yeah, that's it. Let me know what's on your TBR and what you've read recently. If you have any recommendations for me based on any of the books I've talked about here, or just any recommendations in general, I would super appreciate them. Let me know about any videos you'd like to see from me in the future, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!